Hi everyone, this is Leonie from My Passion for Paper. Today I would like to show you a calendar that I created. I was inspired for this calendar by Cassie, who is Flipacano2 here on YouTube, and I'll post a link to her video in the description box below. She created a calendar for a friend of hers a while ago, and she used the Tim Holtz Baroque die. I created one for myself last year, and I thought it would be nice to create one for a friend for this year or next year. I used the Prima romance novel paper line to create this calendar. It's one of my favorites at the moment. And let me see, I used some spackling here. I did some masking with the Crafters Workshop mask. And here I have a piece of a crochet tablecloth in the background, and it goes all the way like this, but most of it got covered up. Here I have some rosebuds, and here's a cherry blossom, and I colored most of the flowers myself because they were all white. And for this one I used the Victorian Velvet Distress ink. This is a flower that I made myself, and I printed the calendar off the internet. Here I have a bead spray that I created and some more cherry blossoms. And I created this big flower with my Tim Holtz die. And here's another homemade rose and a cherry blossom and another little bead spray. And I used the stems of the flowers and I curled them, and I went over everything with gesso for some decoration. So that's the first month. Oops. And here's the second month. I used some lace here and some flat back pearl trim. I received this from Lydia. I triple dog dare you. Thank you so much, Lydia. And let me see, here's another cherry blossom and some rosebuds. This big black flower, I layered 3 Prima flowers that I received from Neen, who is JJ Showers here on YouTube. Thank you so much, Neen. And I colored them with homemade glimmer mist. And then I went over it with some gesso. And here I have a flat back pearl from Sa Crafters, and I took a wire and some beads and I created this around a flat back pearl. And here's another homemade rose and a fabric flower from my stash. And here's an image from the paper line, and I went over it with some glossy accents and some gesso. And here I have a Martha Stewart butterfly that I also went over with glossy accents and some gesso. Excuse me. And here's the next month. I have some lace here in the background and some more vintage lace and some bling, mesh bling. And I have some Martha Stewart butterflies and some flat back pearls. I'm sorry, it's a tongue twister. And let me see, some fabric flowers from my stash and some more flower stems that I saved and curled. So, oops. And here's April. I layered some more Prima flowers and some cherry blossoms. This one I dyed myself with the Victorian Velvet Distress ink as well. And some more butterflies with some tiny pearl beaded trim in the center. And some fabric flowers from my stash. And I created some sprays here. And this is the next one. I created another flower with my Tim Holtz die, and this is a piece of an earring that I found at the Salvation Army. I created these rose leaves with my Nellie Snellen punches, and here I have some flowers that I colored myself and some more leaves, and I adhered a doily here in the background and another Martha Stewart butterfly. And that's that page. Here's the next one. Here's another cherry blossom, and I tied a bow with some jute cord. And here's a big butterfly. It's a new dye from a Dutch company, and I really love this dye. And some more fabric flowers, and I created this flower out of organza, and in the middle I have a magnolia flower that I had in my stash for a few years. And now we're going to turn it around, and here we have July with some more cherry blossoms and a sweetheart blossom, another magnolia flower, and another butterfly. I didn't want to cover up this side of the paper because I think it's a beautiful sheet. So, and here are some more flowers, some sweetheart blossoms and a cherry blossom, and I adhered some lace here, but most of it got covered up. Here we have the next month. I created some box pleated trim, and here I have some flat back pearl trim that I received from Linda, who is live art now. Thank you so much, Linda. And this is an old stamp, and I went over it with some gesso. It's actually a used stamp, I'm sorry. And some more flowers that I colored. And this is another Tim Holtz flower, and I created this one in the center. And some more fabric flowers here, and I stamped the Prima stamp on acetate, and I went over it with some gesso. And here's another sorry, fabric flower from my stash. And here's September. Here I have a crochet doily that I found at the Salvation Army, a cherry blossom and a homemade rose, and a small rose here. And here's a fabric flower from my stash, and another rose from my stash. And this is a flower that I made. Underneath is a crochet flower, and on top of it is a lace flower. And another flower from my stash. And this is a homemade rose, and I didn't want to cover up the typewriter. So that's that page. Here's the next one. I have some homemade flowers here, and this leaf is from my Martha Stewart punch, and this one as well. And here's a rolled book paper flower, and I created another flower with my Tim Holtz die. This one is created with book paper. And here's another homemade rose. This is a Melissa Francis embellishment, and I went over it with several kinds of acrylic paint and with some gesso. And here's the next one. I did some masking here, and here I have another Tim Holtz flower, and I went over it with some texture paste. And here I have some more Martha Stewart branches or leaves. I crocheted this flower, and here's a flat back pearl from Sa Crafters, and another homemade rose, and some cute little butterflies from the Martha Stewart punch. And this lace here in the background was given to me by my mother-in-law. And here's the last one, with another book paper rolled flower, and I created this flower as well, and some flowers from my stash. And I made a bead spray here and here as well. And here I have two more homemade roses and another book paper flower. So That's that page. And when you flip it and you turn it around, we have January again. So I had a lot of fun creating this calendar. I really love this paper line, and I hope my friend will like this calendar as well. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to be back with another video soon. Bye bye!